right, and there you have it. We have some very effortless, beachy-esque crimped waves. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing my very first hair tutorial, but before we get started, I just wanted to welcome anybody who is new here. My name's Sarah. I post videos every Tuesday, Friday, and Sundays on fashion and beauty, and if you'd like to keep up with me and my channel, make sure to subscribe, hit the notifications button. Also, of course, make sure to follow me on Instagram at _bottledambition and also on Twitter at bottledambition. So for today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you guys how to do those effortless crimped summer beachy waves that have been all over the internet lately. I know that there have been a lot of tutorials on these out there, but I wanted to show you guys my own tips and tricks for how I've mastered it for my hair personally. I really love this hairstyle. I think that it is so gorgeous for summer. I definitely prefer it when it looks a little bit more undone. For me, I preferred the first and second times that I ever did this hairstyle because I was a little bit looser with the waves and stuff. I know that there are some tutorials out there that have done the crimps very defined and very clean. I'm here to show you a little bit more of an undone messy style to it so that it just looks a little bit more carefree and like you didn't even try to do it. So personally for me, this hairstyle only takes about 15 minutes or so. The one caveat with it is my hair is naturally straight, so when I do sleep on it, the top layers do end up straightening overnight. So I do have to retouch it in the morning, but retouches only take me 5 minutes max. So I really love wearing this hairstyle on a daily basis because it's just easy. For this hairstyle, I personally prefer it when my hair is at least a day or two old. I did get my hair done yesterday. I just got my color touched up. Shout out to Cerise over at Acme Salon in Costa Mesa. So I didn't want to do it yesterday because my hair was too smooth and too clean essentially. But my suggestion is if ever you've just showered and you do want to do this hairstyle but you're scared your hair is a little bit too smooth for it, I suggest going in with a dry shampoo. The one that I am currently using right now is Unwind by Hask, and it is their champagne inspired volumizing dry shampoo. So it comes in this champagne bronzy bottle. And what the dry shampoo will do, especially if your hair is super clean, is it's going to give your hair a little bit more texture so that the hairstyle can hold. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray it. So even though my hair is a day old, I still feel like it could use a little bit of extra texture. So I'm gonna spray it all throughout and I will brush through my hair. And if you guys are wondering, yes, I did put in fuchsia streaks in my hair. Okay, so now that I put dry shampoo in my hair and brushed it out so that the dry shampoo could distribute, I'm gonna go ahead and section off my hair. And I personally start with half my hair up. I don't need to work in super small sections, but I do like to work in 2 to 3 layers, just kind of depending on how quickly I'm trying to work with it. Okay, so the bottom section is separated out. Now, as you guys saw in the title, you do use a straightener to do these waves. You don't need anything fancy or anything expensive. This is literally a $15 straightener from Target. I picked it up for the purposes of being able to do this hairstyle. The one thing that you do want to make sure of is that the edges are rounded off as opposed to just a super flat straightener, because if the edges are too sharp on your straightener, your hair's gonna kink more than you're intending for it to, and it'll look like really like almost like 90s crimped as opposed to this like soft wave type of a crimp. But yeah, you really don't need to go out and buy like a $50 straightener or a $100 straightener or anything like that. So for reference, if you guys are looking for one, this one is the Conair Frizz-Free Smooth Ultra Slim Ceramic Flat Iron. It's the 3/4 inch flat iron, and it works just perfectly for this hairstyle. You're gonna grab a section of hair that's just about like 1 inch wide, and I like to start with it going out personally. What you're gonna do is you're gonna clamp onto the hair and you're gonna work kind of quickly, especially if you want it to be more undone. If you want this to be a tighter hairstyle, you can work more slowly, but if you want it more undone like how I want to show you guys, I'm hoping it'll work, you're going to clamp quickly and move up and down in this type of a motion going down the hair. You're gonna pull down as you do this. Don't stay in one spot too long or else the wave is gonna be too tight. Taking this hair section starting up at the top, you want to start going out as opposed to going in because it's going to frame your head a little bit better. For these lower strands, clearly that's not as much of an issue, but when you get to the top, that's where you really want to take note of which direction you're starting in. So I'm just going to go ahead and clamp down and I'm going to start moving through the hair Now for me, a lot of the hair tends to fall out, and that's fine. I'll get it on the next one. So it's gonna create a little bit of a crimp, and if you kind of push it up, it should help it define the waves a little bit more. Now sometimes like this one, I haven't done this hairstyle in a while, muscle memory on your wrist could be lacking. So you might have to do it 1 or 2 times on the first couple of strands while you get used to doing this hand motion, because it is kind of tough. Now what I have found with this hairstyle is the more dramatic you turn the straightener, especially when you're working on going quickly down the hair shaft, the better wave definition you're going to get. Again, depending on how fast you move will determine how tight the waves are, but definition wise, you do want to be dramatic about it. And for me personally, I like to work at the highest heat setting. Now I have found that it's honestly better to not hold the end of the hair, because a lot of the times I end up accidentally making the ends straight when I do that. I tend to clamp and then let go of my hair, but I do keep my hand lightly around it just so that it doesn't fall out of the straightener. So. And by letting it go, you allow the hair to move with the hair straightener as opposed to being like held really tightly where it's not moving with the hair straightener, so it's not getting the bends that you want it to. So I've already got a few pieces that are working out. Did need to do some of them a couple of times, and that happens. So if that's happening to you, just keep trying on it and then eventually you'll get it. There you go. I'll do this again. Now, if you feel like certain areas are getting too straight, slow down just a little bit. The important thing is to pull down as you're turning it. And another thing is, I know that a lot of tutorials have been saying to straighten out the ends. I personally don't do that. I like to keep it going and I let the strand end on whichever turn of the straightener it's going to end on. To me, I feel like that's more natural than the straight ends, but to each person their own. I mean, do what feels right for your hair when you're doing this. Some of you guys might want to straighten out the ends and some of you guys might want to end on a wave. It's totally up to you. There we go. So that one ended up going really, really nicely. And I always notice, honestly, I have to go back and redo my first pieces just because, like I said, at a certain point, my wrist kind of remembers the rhythm of it, and the last pieces I did tend to be better than the first one. So I usually have to go back and redo the first ones. But as you can see, I've got some nice waves going on this side, so I'll go ahead and do the other side. Doing the other side is tricky the very first time, just because it's like you're working with the other direction. There you go. And this is one of those hairstyles where you are going to think it looks terrible at the very end. That's something that I feel like a lot of people haven't mentioned in their tutorials, but it's honestly true. The first time I did this hairstyle, I was like, this is awful. I need to turn back. I really wish that I had curled it instead. And then at the very end, when I saw my full head done, I was like, oh my God, this looks so great. So even if you feel like it's not looking perfect, I highly, highly suggest finishing all of your hair before throwing in the towel. Okay, so I have the bottom layer done. Now what I'm gonna do is go in with a texturizing spray. I don't really use hairspray, but I do use a texturizing spray to help it set a little bit better. And the one I'm using is Bright. It's a sea salt spray. Technically, this is for damp hair, but I feel like if I spray it in when I do this hairstyle and then I kind of scrunch with my hands, it helps to hold these waves a little bit better. And this one is specifically designed for blonde hair to help maintain your blonde. And scrunch in. And it kind of just gives it a more beachy vibe. And then I personally just let down one side at a time. So I'm only going to let down half of the second section over here. And this is going to be cute for a little while. Brush this out, trying not to accidentally brush any of the waves that I just put in on the bottom layers. And I'll go ahead and work on this side. so now that I'm working on the top layers, I want to be a little bit more careful with how these turn out, because this is mainly what's going to be seen, obviously. On the bottom layers, it's just more about making sure I'm getting that wave in, but for here, I really want to concentrate on making sure that the waves that I'm doing are the right amount of looseness that I'm looking for, because how this top layer looks is essentially going to determine kind of the vibe of the hairstyle for you. So I'm gonna start off with my dominant side, taking this top layer, and then this is the piece that always makes me the most nervous, so I always do it first so that if I end up not liking the way that it looks, I can let it cool and then come back to it. What you want to do on this one is you don't want to start curling right away. You want to wait until you get about here right by your eye and then start going in. That way it kind of frames your eye as opposed to just looking all crazy. So I'm gonna let it go down the hair shaft a little bit, and then I'm gonna start turning. And honestly, I feel like I started turning a little bit too high on this one. So what I can easily do is just go in and kind of straighten out this top piece a little bit so that it's just a little bit looser up by the crown. So I'm gonna go into the layer underneath it and kind of try to replicate the same thing. Okay. And there you go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the rest of the top of my head. And remember too, if you end up with it looking tighter than you want it to, it is gonna slightly fall. And as soon as you get done doing your hair, you can totally run your fingers through it and kind of try to loosen everything up if you want. Pull down and turn. I do redo some pieces if I feel like, you know, they're not falling the way that I want them to, like these top pieces, for example. I'm going to try to make these waves bigger. There we go. I'm actually going to go ahead and try to redo the front to kind of match that, pulling down and just make that a lot bigger of a wave, just like that. I'm going to go in the back here and even that out as well, so it kind of goes with how loose those other ones are. Perfect. So I'm going to go in with the texturizing spray, give myself a couple of good sprays, and working on this other side. Same thing, since it's one of the top layers, I'm going to work in bigger strokes up here. Push it up. Oh, see, this side, for some reason, this side usually turns out better for me, which is so weird because, like, when I'm curling my hair, it's the opposite. I think it's because my left side is less dominant, so I'm a lot looser on it than I am on the right. And since I like this to look a little bit more undone, that's just how it ends up looking, since I feel like I don't have as much control on this side. So it just naturally ends up looking a little bit more undone than the other side, which is my preference. And spray it with the texturizing spray again. All right, and there you have it. We have some very effortless, beachy-esque crimped waves using a hair straightener. Now, the last thing that I like to do, especially because my hair is bleached and I just used a texturizing spray and hot products in it, it kind of took away some of the vibrancy of my hair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with this BioSilk Silk Therapy Shine On spray, and I'm going to lightly spray my hair with it to give it a little bit more luminosity and shine. That always smells like you just came fresh out of a salon. It smells amazing. And it kind of brought back a little bit of that shine and a little bit of that healthy look. Anytime I touch my hair with heat products, I like to go back in with this just to give it back some appearance of being healthy, even though it's not because my hair is so bleached and processed. And I do also like to go into my bangs a little bit and brush it out with my fingers just to really loosen it up, because I do prefer the waves just be softer right around my face. Okay, but that was it for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys saw it's actually really, really easy to achieve. It really is just about getting that wrist motion as you're going down the hair shaft and figuring out what level of tightness you want on these waves. Again, like I said, for me personally, I do prefer a more undone one, so I definitely like to do it, kind of brush it out and kind of make it look a little bit more lived in. I feel like that's just a little bit more summery and carefree, but of course, do it however you'd like it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you guys want more hair tutorials, make sure to give this video a thumbs up so that I know to do more. Don't forget to follow me on social media. Of course, make sure that you subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.